Why, hello out there, and welcome to Small Beards and Big Opinions.
After hours. I don't know.
We never actually named this series at all. We just kind of decided to do a separate interview or episode
Yeah,
for
let's
the
just go
interview.
with small beards, big opinions after hours.
After hours. Okay,
Just
sure.
always
Well,
assume we're filming this at like after 9 o'clock.
sure,
Yeah.
probably. So, Amanda, if you don't know, Amanda's with us. Say hello, Amanda.
Hello.
If you
Amanda,
don't
thank
know
you.
anything about Amanda, go watch History and Hypotheticals with Amanda
Yeah,
and you'll learn.
honestly,
Learn all about me.
one of our best episodes we've done. It was really
I
awesome.
think so. Yeah, it was pretty good.
But today we're not here for History and Hypotheticals, folks. Today we are here for cannibalism.
Yeah, we
Yes.
just love cannibalism.
Love it.
Doing
We're
it.
experts.
Oh, wait, I mean, not doing
Wait,
it. That was a joke.
we gotta
Neither
be
of us are
specific here,
cannibals.
guys.
No, neither of us are cannibals.
I
Definitely
don't know about
not.
Eddie, but I know me and Shane are cannibals.
Oh, I eat Holly's fingers all day. What do you mean? Like, I just chop one off, she regrows it, I chop it up. Okay, I'm gonna stop there.
Okay, wait, that sounded a lot weirder at first.
I'm gonna stop
That's going to be the title of this interview. You're going to have a little subtitle. Eddie eats Holly's fingers.
So, Amanda, why don't you tell the audience why the heck you and Shane are not me? I'm moderating, but why you two are talking about cannibalism
Oh,
in
shit.
general?
Oh, yeah.
How did
So
this
in
start?
general, what?
How did this start? I don't
Yeah,
even.
how did
I remember the day it started, but I don't remember how we got on the topic.
I think it came somehow out of deck petroleum, which is a whole nother scenario
Oh,
that we're
deck
not
petroleum.
going into. But I think
I remember being in the library and we were all just kind of standing there, and someone said something about cannibalism, and I was like, "Here's what I think."
yeah, because you were asking me about what is actually the criteria for becoming a cannibal,
Yeah,
and I
that's
just
right.
went with it. Yeah.
And it hasn't stopped.
It hasn't
And
stopped.
it's
I'll
gotten
text you at
somehow
like
better.
random hours, just be like, hey, so I
Mhm.
had a cannibalism thought. How would this work?
Yeah, and then that goes on for a couple hours.
It does. Yes. I am pretty certain that several government organizations are monitoring our conversations at
Oh
this
yeah,
point.
for sure.
Yeah.
They're probably more interested. They're probably waiting. They're like, "Oh man, when are we gonna get an update on this whole thing?"
Yeah. Because if we can figure it out for them, then they can just use it.
Yeah, we
good.
should be getting paid.
Exactly.
Honestly, the government's gonna be real interested by Amanda's fourth or second point, but we'll get there. So here's how this is gonna work, folks. So I have 2 points from both Shaner and Amanda, so 4 points in total. Okay, I'm gonna throw it out there, and then those two are gonna whatever they call pepper off each other, whatever they call it. And after either they end the conversation or after 10 minutes, I'm going to cut them off and we're going to move on. And I'm going to stop any bad convos from happening. That's
Which
my
is the
job.
entire conversation because it's on cannibalism.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Anything you two want to get out before we start whatever happens?
Yeah, don't eat people.
Yes.
We're not endorsing
Like we're
cannibalism.
prefacing that. We are not endorsing this in any way, shape, or form. It's just an interesting topic. And no, not because of the recent Jeffrey Dahmer documentary. We were on this way before that was even a concept. Just want to get that out there so it doesn't seem like we're riding any hype train.
Yeah, we've
We
been on
were
this,
talking
what,
about
4
cannibalism.
years?
Yeah, at least
Yeah.
4 years.
It's been
Okay.
that long? Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
this-
Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're going to start off with one of Shaner's points, which I think is a good starting point. What defines cannibalism?
Yeah, this
Shaner,
is
why
what
don't you start
started the
floor?
conversation.
Yeah,
This
why
is
don't-
what started the conversation because I had this thought about like if all you define cannibalism as is consuming human flesh, if that's your basis definition, which I think for a lot of people it is, where do you draw that line? Because you can chew off the inside of your lip. That's eating skin. Does that count? If you you pick a thing off your nail, like a hangnail off, I don't know. Where do you have to swallow it for it to count as cannibalism? And then I had this even crazier thought about, okay, when it's been studied, all the dead skin cells you get in like food service, so from like lunch ladies and all this different stuff, does that count as cannibalism? Where do you draw that line of like what counts, what doesn't count? So it led to us, I think, trying to build a definition. Like we went through, how many would you say, Amanda? Like
Hours.
criteria, hours of criteria. how much skin you need to consume. Does it need to be
Doesn't need to be
knowledge?
intentional that you're
Yeah,
trying to.
intentional. Can you like unintentionally be a cannibal? And it led to the most outlandish scenarios. What was the
Which
one,
is,
like a dinner party, I think?
yeah. So like
If
if
you
your host,
instructed a guy to like feed it to you, but he
right.
mixed it up so you didn't know which one was human skin.
Yeah. See, I feel like that would still be cannibalism though, because you had the discussion with him, hey, here's human skin, here's not human
Okay,
skin,
yeah,
just
you're
feed it to
right.
me.
So can you be, I guess the other question is, it's not just what is cannibalism, it is what in the legal sense is cannibalism. Like we're not
Which is two
talking,
different things.
yeah, we want to, where I think we always focused more on the legal bit of like, can you be charged for cannibalism if you are fed human flesh unintentionally?
No. I don't think that you would legally be called a cannibal. I think that you would technically still be a cannibal, but not legally.
So that feeds into the moral side. Should you morally be considered a cannibal if you unintentionally eat someone?
Yeah.
So I think we ended up, because the main thing was we also had to build like a size parameter of how much
Yeah, because if you
flesh.
had like a square inch of something, because it was the size of it, but it was also the time period of the size of that. So like if you had teeny tiny little flakes of skin and then you
Mhm.
counted all of that up over your entire lifetime and it added up to like a square inch of flesh versus if you just took a bite of like a square inch of flesh, which one would be more cannibalism even though it's the same amount?
Yeah. So I think that was where we ended up, was a square inch was needed to be for it to be considered. But then again, I don't know. What if you just like it, took like an inch by an inch by, I guess that'd be a cube. So like maybe an inch by just a 16th less of an inch.
Right.
So it's kind of a tricky thing. And obviously we're not working in the legal system, so this changes absolutely nothing. But like, were we prosecuting for this? What would happen if that was the legal definition, was an inch, a square inch, and you had a guy who ate like an inch by uh I don't know, 15/16 of an inch.
Right.
So that's kind of where the what defines cannibalism. So can you technically legally be charged for eating your own, and self-cannibalism? That was the other thing we had to define.
Yeah.
Should it count if you like, this sounds really weird to just say on the air, if you like, you know, eat a square inch of yourself? Morally, you'd probably be a cannibal, but can you legally be charged with that?
Right. Because on top of it, it's not like you're going to turn yourself in, oh, I ate a chunk of my own skin.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then again, too, if you're like the skin tags that you get or whatever, if you accidentally
Hmm.
swallow one of those and it just adds up. Yeah. Because I think the thing that it boils down to the most is your intentions on it. So like if you are willfully wanting to and you're aware of it and everything and you're trying to eat human flesh, I think that would be it. Whereas if you're not trying to, even if you're like fed a human leg or something, you don't realize it's a human leg, I feel like you wouldn't be prosecuted as a cannibal.
Okay, so then with the intentions of if you're trying to, I feel like I want to go back to that dinner party scenario. So if you have this kind of I don't want to say it's
Funny.
kind of like a Schrodinger's dog situation where
Yeah.
you might be and might not be eating human flesh at the same time.
Okay.
So where do you draw the line there? Is it intentional if you ask someone to mix that in with regular meat? Not mix it in like together, but like you have a
Right.
50/50 chance of getting. So I've heard pork is like, I don't know if that's true, but like I've heard pork is the most close you can get from like a typical meat to eating human flesh, but it's most like. So
Okay.
if you couldn't differentiate and you told someone you had a 50/50 chance of eating a pork chop or a human chop, is that intentional?
I feel like if you're at a dinner party and your host gives you the option, here, you can have either this one or this one of them's human, one of them's pig, you just wouldn't eat.
No, but I mean, like if you consciously ask someone, okay, mix these up and give me one. You're not trying to eat human flesh, but the chances are there that you could.
I feel like that one, since you've given the person the human flesh in food-like circumstances, that you are trying to eat them. You're just trying to not be responsible for eating them.
True, but you also might be eating a pork chop. So it's
Could.
just the idea that you could.
You
So it's
could.
not like you're going, because at that point you might as well just ask them for the human chop. I'm going to refer
Right.
to it as that.
The human chop.
But there's also the chance that you could be asking for a pork chop, and you know that going into it. And if you don't care, you just want to eat either.
Right.
So
Which
that's
brings up
kind
an
of like one of those insane scenarios, but it could happen.
Yeah. It makes me wonder if the person who would be feeding you the pork chop or human chop, whether they would be aiding and abetting cannibalism.
Oh, definitely. I think at that, well, that's the thing is
Is it
legally,
cannibalism now?
yeah. So if you got the pork chop, but the
Mhm.
human chop still exists, would that be considered aiding, abetting, and cannibalism? Because technically no cannibalism occurred.
Right. There's just been a murder probably because you have a human
No,
chop.
we're not. Yeah, no, we're not talking about murder. That's the thing is, obviously, in most of these cases, you get charged with murder, but let's just assume that you suddenly came into possession of human chop.
As you do, just
As you
randomly on a
do.
Thursday night.
It probably happens in like New York or Ohio.
Or Ohio. But yeah, so that's some of the criteria of what exactly is a cannibal, both legally and morally.
Mhm.
Is there's just a lot of criteria that go into it where we throw around, oh, cannibalism, but what exactly do you mean? And what is a cannibal other than somebody who eats human?
That's it. You guys are done?
Yeah, that wraps it up. I mean, I could have a couple more examples, but I don't think they would hold up as well as those.
Okay.
Those are just the kind of conversations. There's been a lot more behind that.
Yeah.
We just
Okay.
boiled down like
That was
3,
4
4 hour,
years.
4 years of conversation into like a 6-minute talking point. So
Because I remember the skin tag one that lasted for a good few days. It
yeah.
was just like, how would you get this? Do you know if it's yours?
Going back to your point, Amanda, I feel like we did freak a lot of people out. And it's one of those things like we're not trying to be obsessed with cannibalism. It's just cool and not cool.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
just fascinating.
But you tell
Just the
somebody,
moral
oh
ambiguity.
yeah, I told my roommate today, just yeah, I'm going on a talk show to talk about cannibalism. She's like, fine. Why are you talking about cannibalism?
She's like, I'm gonna sleep with my door locked tonight.
Yeah, exactly. But no,
Okay.
the teachers, because I think we've even had this discussion in class before, and the professor's like, yo,
Yeah, no, they need to be more open-minded.
yeah.
You know who
It's
would
a-
have this conversation? Batchelder would probably have this conversation.
I bet he
Am I allowed to
would.
say that on the air? Am I allowed to say his name on the air?
I don't see why not.
Nobody
Okay.
knows who this person is, so
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go with
A
it.
small
I-
subsect of people will know who that is, so I think it's
Okay.
And
fine.
if they know
person-
who it is, you're probably like had him, so it's fine.
Yeah. And you know that
Him
he would
or who's the other one?
Waddell.
Yeah, Waddell would love this.
Waddell
He would
would.
get so into it.
Oh yeah.
These are professors at our former university, by the way.
Yeah, some of the best.
Top tier.
I haven't had
Mhm.
either of them.
You're
Well,
missing out.
Go back to Waynesburg. Although
Yeah.
Waddell's
Hashtag-
not at Waynesburg anymore, so
Hashtag com major. Okay. Second point, which both of you actually submitted the same point to me, but we're gonna roll with it anyways because I came up with a fourth point of my own. So
oh no.
Oh,
yeah. The interesting morality of consensual cannibalism.
Yes.
So
Shana, do you want to introduce this one?
well, no,
Yeah.
Amanda, you do this one since Shana
Yeah,
did the last
you-
one.
and I've got a point to make after you talk about this story that kind of changes perspective.
Good, cool. You're gonna have to brush me up on some of the details because I was just working with the theory of
I
consensual
pulled it up.
cannibalism.
I pulled
Perfect.
it up, so we're good.
So there was a story in 2001 about a German cannibal who posted on a website that he wanted to unironically eat somebody. And
Mhm.
somebody commented back that they unironically wanted to be eaten. So there was consent involved. And the victim went over, I'm not going to get into details, but he was eaten, murdered, stored in a freezer type of thing. And the guy who was the cannibal then went and, I think it was like a year later, went and turned himself into the police. And then there was this whole court thing because was it actually illegal since it was consensual? And I forget when the courts actually came back and said that it was still cannibalism even though it was consensual, because up until that point it was technically legal in Germany for consensual cannibalism until this precedent was made. But yeah, there was an incident where there was consensual cannibalism in Germany.
Now, some fun facts you're going to want to know about this story. He did not immediately kill the guy and eat him. This is what I did not know. So he went to that guy's house, and the guy who was to be eaten loaded up on like sleeping medicine and cough syrup. And then they had this idea where I'm not going to get into too specifics because I feel like this would be a little too much for the air.
Yeah.
But he wanted the cannibal guy, whose name was what, Armin or Armin.
Yeah.
The guy who wanted to be eaten wanted Armin to eat a certain part of his body. Guess where that was?
Mm-hmm.
And so when that didn't work, they cut it off, and they both tried to eat it. And
he was still conscious by that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they tried to both, partake in that, and I don't think it worked. Eddie's losing it. So basically, then he died by bleeding out in a bathtub. And then, so after that, what was interesting to me is I always thought it was kind of like he went to court going, hey, why am I in court? It was consensual. But actually, he came out and said that people who do this, because there was a lot more after this, like a lot more people trying to do this. And he came out, let me find his exact statement here. He said people that advertising for willing victims, they should go for treatment so it doesn't escalate like it did with me. And he later in prison became a vegetarian. So he basically came out and said, don't do this. And I think there was a lot of talk about whether or not he had a mental illness, but he was like very against what he did.
Okay.
He said he planned to write a biography with the aim of deterring anyone wanting to follow in his footsteps. So I think the problem here is we need to differentiate this story, because this is like we murdered a guy and ate him, versus what I think the main question is, like if we were hanging out and we were cannibals and I was like, here, and I like took off a small piece of my arm and gave it to you and you ate that, nobody dies,
right?
And there's no like superb bodily harm. Should that be, now we're taking out morals out of this.
Yeah.
So remove like religious and ethical morals. Purely from a legal standpoint, should that be illegal?
Since it was consensual and you didn't die.
Yeah.
And since I'm gonna jump in for a second, because morally you should not be doing this, right, guys?
Right.
That's a whole other debate. That's a whole
other debate. Yes or no?
No, you should not. But that's based on my morals. Like I feel like there's a whole debate about morally whether or not it's okay to eat people.
Okay.
Yeah,
fine.
but if we're going under the assumption of natural rights,
I say no, don't eat people. It's morally wrong. But that's based on my morals, and that's based on, your guys' morals. But there might be someone out there who would probably be able to argue that morally it's fine.
Okay.
I don't know how that works, but that's all I was saying.
Okay. I would have to think that argument, and I'll come back and argue from devil's advocate because I'm curious about that now.
Okay.
No, I don't think we should do a more, because that gets into like religious and ethical territory, and I don't think we need to address that on the air.
Okay.
So going back
forward, what you guys were doing.
Should consensual cannibalism of a small scale, not on the I'm going to murder you scale, be legal? And I mean, I don't know on this one. It's tricky because the problem is it's hard to subtract morals from it, because morally we all think, yeah, cannibalism is like a terrible thing. So to hear it go, you don't want to say out loud, yeah, cannibalism should be legal if it's consensual.
Right.
But morals completely separated, I don't see why not.
Yeah, because if you're going with like different theorists and walking a very tight line here because I do not want to say that some of these theorists would be okay with cannibalism. But one of the theorists that I follow is J.S. Mill, and his essential argument is that as long as you are not doing physical harm to another human being, it's okay. And if that other human being is consensual for you, like having a chunk of his leg, and is not harming him because he's consenting to it, then technically that should be okay. I don't like saying that.
Yeah, exactly.
Going along there,
there's a tricky line.
Yeah.
But I lost my train of thought on that one. I think the other problem that you have to look at is outside of like a moral standpoint. I don't remember if I've read that there's like health side effects to this. Like I think your body rejects it after a certain amount. I want to say that sounds right.
That makes sense.
I don't know a way to look that up, but I feel like there's some way your body rejects like human flesh. Like you get really sick after a certain amount. And I don't know if that's, don't quote me on that, but I feel like I've heard that somewhere.
Yeah, I've heard that, but I haven't seen any studies to back that up. But it's not like you're going to be feeding people human to see if they're going to have a negative result.
Yeah, we would definitely never do that.
No, we wouldn't do that.
No, no, we wouldn't. Not in public. I mean, not at all. Eddie's like over there probably having like heart palpitations, like, don't say anything stupid, don't say anything stupid.
Can you cut anything out if we do say something stupid, or are we just going?
Oh no, yeah, I edit this, don't worry. But
Okay,
so far,
cool.
I think you
Oh.
guys are fine. You guys are fine so far. So continue.
I don't know. I
Yeah,
think that's all we have to say about. Oh, wait, you have more points.
Yeah, I do have more points.
Hit us.
Going off of the whole thing of if you could research something, but the whole thing about ethics, like you can't research everything because it's unethical. So there are questions like, does eating a human actually, hurt you? But you can't study that ethically. So there's questions
No.
here without answers.
Well, I feel like you could not study it, but I feel like we could find a cannibal to ask. Not we personally. We've had that
We
discussion.
have.
I feel like there's a way to, ask a cannibal if he ever had side effects. So,
I think we're going to touch on that later with one of Eddie's other questions.
Oh, good. Okay.
Potentially.
Man, you guys are going through this a lot faster than I thought you would be, which is good. I'm glad.
Eddie, like I said, this is not our first rodeo with this.
Okay.
We know what we want to say already.
This is practice. This is rehearsed. We know our cannibalism.
Okay. So for the third point, which is also Amanda's, CIA or other groups could use imprisoned cannibalists for whatever unmentioned uses that she meant. So
Right.
take it away, Amanda.
Okay, because didn't we have a conversation where we could interview cannibalism or cannibals in jail and then use that as research for future CIA or like different counter ops, or we had mentioned something
It
about
was
that.
a TV show idea we had. Like, man, this would make a great stupid TV show.
Okay.
But yeah, potentially it could. I don't know what you would ask is the problem. Like, what are you trying to find out from these cannibals? Unlike a serial killer where you're trying to find out like motives and stuff like that, with a cannibal, like, what are you going to ask them,
Right. Because I
like,
think
how
with
does
this one-
human taste? How does that help us?
Right. I think why I had originally brought that up was I was wondering if cannibals were attracted to different people's personalities.
Yeah,
Or-
that was a big discussion, was whether or not, I thought the discussion was whether or not personality changed how a person tastes.
Right. Like if you were a really happy, bubbly person, if this person happened to taste different than, say, like a melancholy type of person.
I don't, like I said, based on the discussion we had, I still think that the only way it would affect it is how that affects other areas of your life. Like if you are a more melancholy, like if you're depressed, medically, clinically depressed, you're probably not getting as much exercise, not as much sunlight. Your diet is probably not the best. I'm not going to, generalize every depressed person on earth, but
Right.
just from guesswork. So that might change how you taste versus someone who has like, is in a better state of mind, might have a better diet, better exercise. But I don't think the actual personality itself is what affects how a person might taste.
Right.
I
Which
can't see
makes
any
sense.
way that would.
Yeah.
So
then
then,
how did we translate that back to the CIA thing, because I forget how that connected.
I'm trying to think. I know we had the thought of, man, if only we could interview a cannibal.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think what it came down to was we thought it would be super cool if the CIA would like hire us to interview cannibals. But yeah, I can't remember why.
Right, because it was either
Oh
to
wait, I guess we
catch
could just
other.
check.
Oh yeah,
I
we
can
do have
check.
that
Hold
on.
on. Let's see.
Okay.
But
'Cause it might
keep
have been
talking while I look
something-
this up.
It might have been something that the CIA hired us to go interview the cannibals, and then from our research we could like find other cannibals, or we could use cannibals kind of as a weapon, but I don't think we went to the weapon
Okay,
phase of
let's
it.
see.
It shouldn't have been that long ago. 'Cause it was
Yeah, I found the conversation. I'm trying to see where it started.
right.
Uh,
But CIA, if you're listening, definitely hit us up. We would love to research cannibals.
yeah, that would be the greatest job.
Yeah. Or NSA.
So I think what it came down to, if I'm reading this right, I think it was just like, hey, let's study just different effects of cannibalism. But I don't think we ever had a purpose why. I think what it kind of was, and if the CIA is listening, oh well, it was kind of like, let's use the CIA to fund this research and basically rip them off. Like, use
Oh,
this for our own personal means to like research cannibals and be like, yeah, we'll get you results, and then just
right. Because I think
not
the other
turn
part of it
anything
was we
in.
were guessing that the CIA was probably made up of some cannibals, considering some of the trash that they've
Yeah.
done. They probably have some cannibals in their midst, so they would like, oh yeah, here we'll help you research it, and that'll actually help them because they're also cannibals. And it was that whole kind of like whopper jawed theory.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it looks like that's about it without like going back and reading every single message.
Right.
I think, it was just the idea we wanted to test our theories, like feed them different people, like a happy person and a sad person, to see if they could test that. And then we were like, why isn't there a shady organization that would just let us like experiment on and with cannibals?
Oh wait, the CIA exists. Shady organization secured.
They
So,
certainly
yeah.
have the money to fund it.
Maybe
I
we'll
want
get
that. Can you
EPA
imagine the job title we get, like CIA agent, like underscore cannibalism division? Like an X-Files style show
Oh,
just about CIA agents studying cannibalism.
could be good.
Yeah, I think our one message specifically was, this could get great funding if we didn't care so much about those pesky ethics.
See, all of these things go back to ethics. If we didn't
Yeah.
have to worry about the ethics of things, we'd have so many more answers.
Yeah, darn those ethics.
Yeah, dag nabbit. Reminder, kids, don't eat people. We like ethics.
Yeah, don't eat people. That's the baseline for this episode. Please don't eat people. But what if it's your only method of survival?
Okay,
And what if you crash a
Donner
plane?
Party.
Okay, true. But like that brings up a good point. If you crash a plane and your option is like eat the recently dead corpse or die, what do you do?
Yeah.
Is
we
it
doing rhetorical,
okay
or
in
are we
that
actually-
sense? I don't know. What do you mean if we're doing rhetorical? And it's like, don't get on the plane. Okay. Cross that off my checklist for tomorrow. Do not go to airport.
Never fly with Shaner anywhere.
Yeah, sorry. If my only choice, like if you guys die, if we're on a plane together, my only choice is like death or eat your corpse. I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna enjoy it, but like if it were
Right.
for survival and you were already dead, and
But
I'm
would
sure
you get prosecuted for it? That's my
that's
question.
a good question. That is a good question. I don't know, because that goes back to, does it have to be willful? Like
Well,
if
that
you're
would
presented
definitely
no
be
other,
willful.
but like, so then we have to define willful, because I don't think if that is your only option, I don't know if you should be prosecuted for that. So we have to define willful as,
You have other options, and
So
you
we'd have to
choose to do it
exclude
anyway.
we'd have to exclude, we'd have to have like a last resort clause.
Yeah.
So like if it's a last resort, yeah, that would definitely be, I think we'd have to have a last resort clause in there. Because I feel like, again, now if there are other options and it's like, eat 50 rats or one person and you choose not to eat the rats, that's probably like illegal.
But with that too, like what if you know that the rats have diseases or something like that? So you're gonna get sick and die from, let's say, I don't know, freaking Ebola. Okay, if you eat the rats, or you can eat a dead human that won't, but say you know for certain that the human won't hurt you.
Yeah, so that would be last resort,
Not necessarily, you could eat the rats.
but you'd die. Well, then
Mm.
again, how long would it take you to die? Like, could you eat the rats theoretically, get Ebola, and have enough energy from eating the rats to make it to a medical treatment center?
Right.
This
I
is
don't know.
tricky.
It is.
I'm gonna say no other options, like eat the human or die of starvation, shouldn't be prosecuted. And then, so yeah, all I'm gonna say is that if you're just eating, all you have is a person to eat or you die, should not be prosecuted. If you have the option to literally eat anything else, even Ebola rats, and you choose the person, then I'm gonna say, yeah, that should be prosecuted.
Okay.
And that's what I have to say about that.
Okay. Because where I'm thinking is if we could do like a time travel thing and bring the Donner Party up to today, if the Donner Party would have been prosecuted for doing cannibalism.
So was that? I don't remember. It's been a while. Was that the plane crash?
No, so I think it was called the Donner Party, but
I
they
know
were
the name is right. I just don't
right.
remember the exact
So
details.
it was the wagon trail that they were going across, the Rocky Mountains, and they got stranded between, shoot, that would have been like Nevada into California, and they were stranded in the mountains and had to eat people because that was the only option that they had left. I'm curious is if that happened today, barring like, technology and better planning and stuff like that, if they got stranded in the mountain pass and they had to eat people, if that would get prosecuted today.
So
Because you'd have to look into like, oh my gosh, premeditated stuff like that, or there'd be different financial things or different property
yeah, that
rights.
would be tricky. Like, did some people go into this like wanting to eat people, and
Right.
suddenly an opportunity was presented where they could get away with it? Like, I don't know. There's some weird people out there. I'm sure there has to be someone who's like, man, oops, last resort. We're suddenly stuck. Yeah, that's a tricky one. I'm gonna say, I think it goes back to if it's truly your last resort. But then again, so the problem is it has to be like cleared first. That last resort does not count if you consciously murder someone to eat them.
Right, yeah, that's not.
So like they have to have died natural causes. Then it would be, you can't see my quotation marks if you're just listening, but okay. It's not morally okay, but legally, we're strictly speaking legally here, then it shouldn't be prosecuted if they died of natural causes. Now, if you're like, man, I'm so hungry and Jerry over there is looking, really delicious,
Real
I'm gonna
tasty.
murder him and then eat him. Yeah, you're getting prosecuted.
Yeah.
So
Unless, okay, what if it's the whole island situation and it's self-defense? This isn't going so much on cannibalism now, but if it's either he's gonna kill you or you're gonna kill him, and then one of you gets to live because you'll eat the other one.
we'll see, at that point, it wouldn't be that, the legality would be more on murder.
Okay.
So it'd also be, well, no, because it would be two different scenarios, because the one is premeditated cannibalism, like I'm going to kill you so that I can eat you, versus
Right.
like I killed you in self-defense and side benefit, now I have food. So I'm going to say, yeah, that is a different scenario, because one, you're premeditating to kill someone specifically to get food,
Makes sense.
versus just, oops, you died, I had to kill you. But also, hey, now I'm not hungry.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can see how that would. Fortunately, I think all of these are hypotheticals and not actually happening. I really hope they're not actually happening.
I'm sure it's happened at least once. I mean, obviously, it happened to the Donner Party.
Well, yeah. And we're also just kind of looking at America, so we're not looking at. I mean, I bet something like that has happened in some of the hikes on the Mount Everest. I bet
Oh,
something
yeah.
like this has happened.
There's plenty of corpses on Everest. They use them as like baseline markers.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, if you're stranded on Everest, you get blocked in by an avalanche, but you just so happen to got snowed in by one of those markers. It's probably not good anymore, but if that's your only option,
Yeah.
that goes back to last resort. So yeah, I think the whole of this can be boiled down to, as long as you did not premeditate the cannibalism when they died. So in terms of self-defense, natural death. Now, okay, here's a good one. What if they get killed by someone else? So if there's 3 people, so let's say you, me, and Eddie are out on a hike and we get stuck, no food, and I kill Eddie.
Okay.
No offense, Eddie, but let's just say we're the cannibal experts. We kill Eddie. No, I kill Eddie.
None taken. I don't want to be a part of this anyways.
I'm surprised you went on the hike with us after this conversation. You brave soul.
Yeah. So like, does the last resort clause work there if you eat Eddie?
I feel like it would be okay for me to eat Eddie, but I don't think that sounds weird saying. I feel like it would be okay.
Like, as long as you aren't like using that, you can't be like, hey, why don't you kill Eddie so we can both have food? Like, if I,
Right.
without your knowledge, just took a rock to Eddie's head and just knocked it in because he didn't leave feedback on Small Beards Big Opinions podcast, and you came along and were like, well, he's already dead.
I feel slightly targeted, but continue.
No, Eddie, it's okay. We're friends. I
Good
would
friends, good
never.
friends. He says ominously.
No,
No,
I
I
would
think-
never.
I think it'd be okay if I did that because I wasn't a part of the murder. I wasn't a part of anything like that. My landlord is going to be so concerned. But I don't think it'd be okay for you to.
Yeah, no, definitely not. The question was like
Yeah.
a third person in that. Would that be okay?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if we have any other points on that.
I don't
Yeah,
think we
you guys
do.
kind of went into good points. I kind of let it go. You're way above the 10-minute mark, but I'll
Oops.
stop you there. That's fine. No, that's okay. That was a good convo.
I'm glad you're
So-
still alive, Eddie. Don't go on a hike with us anytime soon.
Yeah, no.
Well, it's a good thing I moved out of state. Jeez.
Oh, that's why you left.
Are there any mountain passes on the way to get to you, or is it all cornfields?
No, actually. So the eastern end of Kansas is known as the Flint Hills. So it's like these rolling hills. It's the only hills in Kansas. It's these big rolling hills. So yeah, you could totally like go on another side of a mountain or hill, hit me with a rock, and leave me there.
Hey, Eddie,
Totally
we're
feasible.
we're coming out on a vacation soon. You feel like going on a hike?
Oh, nice. Yeah. Hey, I know this great spot called the Flint Hills. Wish
Yeah,
I
let's
hiked
go
that.
there.
Oh,
Yeah,
that sounds wonderful. Yeah. I love walking up.
I'll bring in an inadequate amount of food. I mean, perfectly adequate.
Oh, nice. Great. Wouldn't want to run out at all. Nope.
No, definitely not.
Okay. So the fourth point, since you two had the same point, I have a hypothetical situation for both of you.
Ooh.
Hit me.
Is not hypothetical. Is the habit
It's
of
not hypothetical and it has to do with cannibalism? That's
no
a problem.
this well
Okay.
no, this is okay.
All right, Eddie.
Let me say it'll make sense. Is the habit of biting your nails count as cannibalism? Because
No.
it is eating yourself, and it is in some cases a addiction for some people because they like do it whenever like they get stressed out, and so it kind of counts as an addiction. So like,
Okay, first thought, I hope you're not swallowing your nails.
Yeah, exactly.
But does it
Okay.
have to be? Okay, wait, does it have to be? Do you have to swallow it for it to be considered cannibalism?
What, you're just gonna take a bite of somebody's leg and then spit it back out?
You chew it around a little bit and you spit it back out. Is that cannibalism?
Oh. Do you have to technically digest the person in order for it to be cannibalism? Or
Not
can
just
it be-
digestion too, because then if it has to be digested, you could swallow it and just immediately back of your throat, vomit it back
Yeah.
up.
And it would have to be detached from the other person's body, so you couldn't just like, I don't know, suck on their finger or whatever.
Yeah, Eddie. Didn't we have that
Yeah,
discussion about
Holly's fingers.
Holly's fingers?
It was a joke. I didn't mean it.
I'm gonna text Holly and ask if she's okay.
Yeah,
Go
like
for it,
Holly,
yeah.
do you still have all your fingers?
Yeah, ask her that.
No context, or I'm
She-
just gonna text her that.
She has no idea we're talking about cannibalism today, so she'll have no idea where that's coming
No,
from.
actually, I'm just
That'll
gonna
be
text
great.
her like, "Are you okay? I hear Eddie like sucks on your fingers," and that's the only text she's gonna get, and you will have to explain that one.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Anyways, where were we?
Okay, but also with the fingernail thing, I don't think. Okay, technically the fingernail is part of the human body, but it's just dead skin cells. I mean, is it really?
Well, that goes back to the dead skin cells from like in your lunch food, like from lunch
True.
ladies.
Okay. I don't know.
So
When I
we
think
have
cannibalism, I
to.
think like skin. I don't think hair or like bone or nails.
Okay. Yeah, because hair would be a whole different subject too.
Yeah.
So then we have to go back to do you have to, at what stage is it considered cannibalism? Like
Mm,
chewing on a piece of skin?
yeah.
So is that, or did it have, because then you have to go like 4 different stages, like in your mouth. Well, no, because then you could even like, trying to think of how to make this not sound weird. Like if you, like you said, if I'm just gnawing on someone's finger, but it's still attached to them.
Yeah. Because that wouldn't be considered cannibalism. I feel like it would have to actually be physically detached from the other person for it to be even remotely considered cannibalism.
Okay, so weird topic then. Here's a weird one. We might have to cut this out. I don't know.
Okay.
So theoretically, how do I make this not sound like a psychopath? You
We're already talking about cannibalism.
cut
I
off,
think it's a little
cut
late.
off, yeah, but like you cut off a chunk of skin, okay, but not fully
Right.
off. And
Oh,
you
it's still
trace it up
detached.
so you have just enough skin to get it into your digestive system.
Uh-huh.
Is
So
that,
it's past your mouth, it's in your digestive system, but it's
Yeah.
still connected to the
but it's
person.
still attached. Here he comes.
This is far off from what my question was. I was asking about your nails, not whatever this is. But
Okay, but you brought back up basically my first point, which was what defines cannibalism.
Right. If it's still attached to the body and you're digesting it, it's not just in your mouth.
Yeah, no, you're digesting it. And eventually it would disconnect because
Right.
the digestive juices would like sever it.
And this is definitely like intentional. There's no you're
Yeah.
accidentally setting it
There
up
is
so that
no
it's,
way you are accidentally doing that. Like,
which means it's
oops, I
cannibalism.
carved off a piece but left just enough on to get down my throat.
Right.
Oh well.
That's-
Oops.
No.
Oops, I swallowed it. Okay, wait, that could happen. You're theoretically okay, so here's the theoretical set. You're playing around with your knife and you're camping. We
Right.
go back to this camping scenario. I'm like just playing around with my buck knife I brought, and I trip on a rock,
Mm-hmm.
and my knife goes up Eddie's arm. If you're squeamish, I don't know, skip ahead 2 minutes, I don't know. And it takes off like a layer.
Right.
So there's this long layer up his arm. People at home can't see what I'm doing with my arm. But so from like here to here is like a flap.
From your
Okay.
elbow, from your wrist to your elbow.
Yeah, but it's still connected right above your elbow.
Okay,
And then
gross.
Eddie's flailing around going, it hurts, it hurts. And he goes like this, and it flings, and it kind of like comes off his arm and goes right down my throat.
So he's flailing his arms, and by doing that motion, it just like goes into your mouth.
Yeah, so like it's kind of like the same thing if I had one of those like hands on a stretchy string thing.
The slap things.
Yeah, the slap hand things.
Yeah.
And you had your mouth open already, and I like stretched it back and flung it in, and it like hit the back of your throat, and then you're choking, and you're like, it's going down your throat.
I feel okay, so that wouldn't be intentional, first of all.
Yeah, no, that's the
But
point. I'm
also
saying
you
it could be
would
done
like
unintentionally.
you'd spit it out. That wouldn't stay in your mouth. You would like
Okay, so how long does it have
violently
to?
spit it out.
But how long does it have to be in there to be considered cannibalism?
Oh gosh.
Like 30 seconds?
See, this is why I hate legal stuff because it's so
Yeah.
particular with defining criteria.
Like I said earlier about the square inch, an inch and 15/16.
Right.
We have wildly diverged off Eddie's topic.
We have, because back to the original thing was eating the fingernails and seeing if that's cannibalism or not. Because
Definitely not.
Because it's not like you're chewing somebody else's fingernails, you're chewing your own fingernails.
Yeah, but it's not skin and you're not swallowing it.
Right.
So wait, eating yourself is not cannibalism?
No, that's what we had a debate before, because eating
Right.
like the skin tags and stuff and chewing off like parts of the inside of your mouth.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha.
So
Okay.
is that cannibalism? Who's to say?
Yeah. I feel like if
'Cause-
you're like, haha, I'm gonna bite on my lip and I'm a cannibal now, then that might be cannibalism. But if you're just like anxious and picking at your lip or something, that's not cannibalism.
Yeah, see, I pick at my lips like all day long. It's like
Yeah.
it's a nervous tick most of the time, but sometimes it's like pick off a piece of my lip.
Yeah.
So, but it's not for the purpose of like, I feel like consuming human flesh. So is that cannibalism? Who knows? I feel like we need a lawyer
I
or
feel
like a
like we
judge.
do. We really need to start making loyal friends just in case somebody comes after
I
us.
have
and
a
says they're
friend who's in
cannibals.
Liberty right now for lawyer stuff. So maybe I should ask him.
Fantastic. Stay in close proximity to that person.
Oh, I've known this person since like kindergarten.
Excellent.
Once he gets more law stuff under his belt, I'll ask him.
Cannibalism part 2? Yeah.
Cannibalism interview part 2.
Well,
Let's see how cannibalism interview part 1 goes.
Okay.
If the ratio of dislikes increases and people are like, this was the most disgusting thing I've ever heard.
What if this video
Horrible.
blows up? We get like 1,000 views.
Oh, we're
Yeah,
definitely we'll do
and-
like a part 3.
We're both going to jail or something. for
Yeah, if it
discussing
blows
cannibalism.
up, we'll get practical with it.
Okay.
No, we're not getting practical because
Eddie just jumped right in. He's like, yeah, that's fine.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
If it gets us views, we'll eat people.
We're joking. Don't eat people. It was a joke.
Yeah,
Not eat
Eddie's
people. We're
joking.
serious.
Yeah, don't eat people. That's like the number one message. We've said that. If you missed that,
you've
I
been
don't know.
willfully trying to ignore the fact that we
Yeah.
said don't eat people.
If you're not hearing us say do not eat people, you're coming in here going, how do I learn more about cannibalism?
Yeah.
Because I want to do it.
Which also, if we attract cannibals to our channel or to your guys' channel,
Yeah, you're gonna like throw them off onto us. Or you're like, oh well, it's your guys' channel. You attracted the cannibals.
Oh yeah, it's a cannibal channel. 3 beards and or small beards and big opinions.
You say 3 beers?
I said
beards.
3 beards. I don't know. There's 3
Yeah.
of us. Whatever.
Amanda,
Okay.
you must have a beard now.
I
By
know.
law.
When Shaner asked me if I was going to be on this, I'm like, I don't have a beard though. He's like, grow one.
Just
How fast can you grow one? But back to fingernails, okay? If you're gnawing on, if Eddie is sucking on Holly's fingers,
why
and
am
she
I
just
always the guinea pig? Why are you
I
guys
don't know,
making
because
me
you were the one
recipient?
you brought it up.
Yeah, but anyway, if he's sucking on Holly's fingers and she has a hangnail, okay, and it just comes loose and he swallows it, is that cannibalism?
No, because it's not intentional.
He was willfully sucking on her fingers.
Yeah, but not willfully trying to eat them.
Eddie.
Like, this is a bit different. We
I
have
feel
to go
bad
for
Holly
like
when she watches this.
willfully trying to consume human flesh. In that scenario, Eddie would be trying to consume the finger. I don't know what he's doing, but it's not trying to consume the finger.
Right.
I'm glad we got that out of the way.
Great.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Is there anything else we want to say about biting fingernails?
I don't think that fingernails counts as cannibalism.
No, definitely not.
Okay.
Just like on the same line of people don't eat fingernails.
Yeah.
It doesn't
That's
matter
gross.
if it's
That's unhealthy.
cannibalism or not. Just don't do it. It's disgusting.
Yeah. That's the disgusting thing out of what we said.
Yeah. Somehow, again, removing morals from it just from purely a perspective of like what's gross and not gross. Eating fingernails is more gross than eating human flesh.
No.
Yeah,
Interesting.
no, I'm going with that
No.
point. The thought of eating fingernails makes me want to physically vomit. Like I might actually vomit right here, right now.
Okay, but
Well,
what if a
don't.
person
But-
like constantly washes their hands and they're clean?
I don't care. The idea of putting a fingernail in my mouth is the most disgusting thing I think I've ever thought of.
Okay.
And I work in a hospital and I clean up human poop all day. Eating fingernails is grosser than that. I won't get into details because we're on the air, but I've done some pretty gross stuff at the hospital involving human poop and bed sheets. And
I
the
don't
idea of
wanna
eating
know.
fingernails is the most gross thing I think I've ever thought of.
All right. I didn't need to know that, but I guess I do now. Cool.
Now you know. You asked. You're
I did
like,
ask.
You did ask.
I just want to put that out there. The thought of eating fingernails is the grossest thing I think it's ever come to my mind.
It's not pleasant, no.
They wouldn't be like crunchy, but they wouldn't be chewy either. They'd be this weird, like, oh, they'd be hard, but you couldn't like. But every time you try to like make it crunch,
Yeah.
it would like bend just enough.
It'd be like plastic, just chewing on
Yeah, like
plastic.
It'd be like plastic, but it would taste worse. And it would be sharp and it would be poking you all over.
Well,
You know
this
what's-
is fun.
This is really fun. Yeah, that's a great word to use.
But
know
at
what's
least
more-
it's not cannibalism.
That's true.
That's true. You know what's even more gross than eating your fingernails or cannibalism, Shaner and Amanda?
What?
You people listening who are not leaving comments
Ooh.
about the episode.
Yeah, specifically this
on.
one. We know you're going to have feedback.
Oh yeah.
And here we go. Are you ready for a second one?
Oh no.
If you don't leave us feedback,
Shaner's gonna come to your house.
and I am just going to. Oh, wait, that sounded bad if I said that. I was trying to think of where to go with that one. I'm like, no, that's illegal. Way
Everything,
illegal.
every
More-
single threat you've done is illegal. Not done. Sorry,
What,
said
painting
is
somebody's
illegal.
Oh,
house?
he's done to that.
Painting somebody's house is illegal? Yeah, right.
Occupational
Anyways.
licensing, it is illegal now.
Okay, so if you don't leave us a comment, I will come to your house and I will make a human model out of I don't know, pork, so it is very realistic. And I will just sit on your front lawn, just taking bits off of it and just consuming it until either your neighbors complain or you just leave a comment because you're so freaked out. You can't call the homeowners association. I am the homeowners association. If you don't get that reference, go listen to the last History and Hypotheticals. So that's my threat. I will
Okay.
come to your
Shane,
house
if
and
you-
pretend to be a cannibal in your front yard.
If you ever, for some odd reason, show up in Ohio and sit on my front lawn and eat a pork human, I'm calling the cops.
They can't arrest me. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm eating some pork.
Well, technically, you're sitting on someone's private property,
Fine.
which is
I
their
will
lawn.
sit. I
On the
will sit
sidewalk.
right outside. Yeah, on the
Yeah, on the
sidewalk,
sidewalk.
outside of your property.
He's
There you go.
loitering outside of my house eating a pork human. Get
No,
him,
it's not.
officers.
What are they going to do? Arrest me for loitering?
All right. With that all said, thank you everyone for listening to After Hours. Is that what we're naming this, Shaner?
Yeah, sure. History and Hypothetical After Hours.
Or we're naming it. Okay, sure. History and Hypotheticals After Hours. Amanda, thank you so much for putting in the last how many ever hours and talking with us and saying whatever's on your mind and just generally for being here. Thank you so much. We appreciate
Absolutely, it was fun.
Hey,
I'm glad you
Amanda,
had
you know how
fun.
we end this episode, Amanda?
How?
There's only one way to end this episode. A deck petroleum.
Deck petroleum.
Eddie, try it.
it. Death Petroleum?
No,
Deck
well, you
petroleum,
ruined
no.
it. Deck
Oh, deck.
petroleum.
What's Deck Petroleum?
Good question.
Yeah, Shayner, what's Deck Petroleum?
I think it came because you spelled something way wrong and we just ran with it for 4 years.
Yeah.
And now it's everything. It's like, it's a greeting, it's an
birthdays,
exclamation,
it's
birthdays,
sadness.
anything. You can literally put it anywhere.
It's like Smurfed.
Yeah,
Oh,
except cooler and
All right.
makes way
Deck
less
Petroleum.
sense.
all right. Well, in
Deck
that case,
Petroleum.
Deck Petroleum.
Deck Petroleum.
Deck Petroleum.
Bye, everyone.
Don't eat people.